So now we're going to be in section 3 on the chapter about the legislative branch. We'll discuss the requirements to be in Congress, the type of work Congress does, and the local role of Congress. The requirements for the Senate: you got to be 30, you got to live in the state you represent, and you got to be a citizen for at least 9 years. Now, the requirements for the House are a little bit more lenient. You can be 25, live in the state you represent, and be a citizen for 7 years. It is not a requirement, but representatives traditionally live in the district they represent. Now, you don't have to do that. A lot of times that will work against you in an election if you don't live in that area, because they're going to say, well, they don't even live in that area, so they don't want to be our representative or whatever. So traditionally, that is something that plays a factor. There are a number of benefits for members of Congress, such as free parking, office space, trips, home states paid for, things like that. You get to park for free, which is a place like DC is a big deal because they got parking garages and things like that, and it would get pretty expensive. They also have franking privilege, which is something that don't seem that important today, but it is really important in Congress. Send job-related mail without paying for postage. They don't have to pay for postage, which is a big deal because they mail stuff all the time. They also have low-cost health insurance, the use of a gym, special restaurants, and a medical clinic. Personal staff serve members in Congress to help with getting information on new bills. They go and find out information on bills for them, arrange meetings, get speeches together, things like that. You also have lobbyists, which are people hired by private groups to influence government decision makers. So a lot of the decisions that they make in Congress, lobbyists influence. And you're going to have lobbyists from like the NRA hires lobbyists. That's not the only one. There's a lot of lobbyists for different companies, different government groups, different special interest groups. They'll hire lobbyists to go and try to promote their cause. Congress also hires students from their home state or district to serve as interns or pages, which basically goes around and just kind of helps them out, sees how things works. Congressional committees also need staffers too. They usually hire people that are experts on certain tasks, such as the military, economics, taxes, whatever. The committee staff do many day-to-day chores of Congress. They just kind of help out in a number of different things that Congress really doesn't have time to do, but needs to be done. The Congressional Research Service does important research for Congress. They find out about certain issues and kind of bring it to the attention of the congressperson. The General Accounting Office deals with financial issues, obviously. The Congressional Budget Office gives Congress advice on budgetary issues. So they find these people that are specialists in these fields and get them to give them advice on what to do. A session of Congress starts January 3rd every year and lasts mostly through the whole year. As I said in the Section 1 video, usually it goes November, sometimes early into December. Their basic job is to represent the people that they represent. There are 3 major jobs that Congress has: lawmaking, casework, and helping their district or state. Making laws. Making laws is the best-known job of Congress. Members write and introduce bills. They take part in committee work, listen to the input of the people, and vote on things. It's one of the most important things they do. So let's talk about lawmaking for a minute. What they'll do is they will write and introduce a bill. So say, for example, I'll use this. This is a good case from the past. There needs to be stop signs at railroad crossings. That didn't used to be a law. And at some point, somebody was like, hey, you know what? It's pretty dangerous just people just been flying across these train tracks and not having to stop. Just crossing and not really paying attention. And so because of that, a lot of people still don't stop at stop sign or at red light or railroad crossings. But the idea is there's a need. Someone writes up a bill. They talk to people about it. They go and they debate it on the floor of Congress. And then they vote on it. And then if they approve it, it goes to the other house of Congress. And then it goes to the president, who can either veto it or sign it into law or just kind of sit there and ignore it. And then after a certain amount of time, it becomes a law. Casework It's helping people in their home state or district with problems. Sometimes when people can't get things done, they reach out to politicians to help. This is to help with specific issues in their state. Most requests are helped by office aides or staff members because Congress gets over 80,000 emails a day. Excuse me. Another job is to help the interests of the people in their district or state. They try to secure money for their state or district from the federal budget. These are called pork barrel projects that mainly benefit their state or district. They try to raise money to help projects that go back home to where they represent. Again, it helps them get reelected. It helps, people like them better because, it's like, dude, you got my problem fixed. I like that. You got some money for this issue. So I like that, and it helps them out in the long run. And it helps out the community. So that gets to the end of section 3. That one went a lot quicker than I thought it would. It kind of gives you some of the idea of what Congress does, both on a local and a federal level, whether they're making laws or helping out their constituents or whatever. So now we're going to get to section 4 and see what kind of conclude this chapter.